Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there. Sort of choking on the phrase good morning. It is December 3rd, 2015, and I suspect you all know what I feel compelled to lead the show off with, and that would be the latest mass murder in the United States. If we led the show off with the latest mass murder in the United States, I think probably, at least one show a week, 2 shows maybe. The stats here are not, well, they're malleable, apparently, in part because of the NRA. Actual gathering of this kind of information of deaths resulting from guns is actually not done by the statistics are, so you rely on others who comb through news accounts. Post-Gazette reports today, I think that yesterday that what happened in San Bernadino was not, in fact, the only mass shooting in the United States yesterday. There was another, I even forget where, doesn't quite rise to, it wasn't even being covered until San Bernadino, and then somebody bothered to sort of link it. It was, I guess, with American standards, not worthy of our attention. Just 4 people were killed. But 4 and up constitutes a mass shooting. This one seems different. This one seems like it may prove to be a hybrid of sorts between, although nothing is for certain, it could be American mass shooting, workplace related, but possibly with an ideological base, although no information has been found that these two left any notes, said anything, expressed any allegiances to terrorist organizations, were in fact linked to any. At this point, it's unknown. It is such a bizarre story with so many unanswered questions. And because of that, and because all the networks were giving it 24/7 coverage up until prime time, the speculation that was engaged in by the people on air was pretty breathtaking, because so little was known as the events unfolded. And so the people on television were left to make assumptions, wonder, speculate, talk to experts, take that information, speculate some more. And I watched pretty much nonstop for about 4 hours and then thought, what are you doing? Part of me said, this is the best reality show on TV right now. What do you think? What am I doing? I'm doing exactly what a lot of Americans are doing. Wow. It's like cops and robbers and terror and all this stuff all packaged, and we are there in the moment. Something sick about it. I realized after a while that sitting there staring at it like that, listening to others speculate, but give me very little information, was, first of all, a waste of my time. Second of all, not helpful in any way to my psyche, to my understanding. I mean, just... And then I thought, but this third guy's still on the loose. What? They've got that apartment surrounded. They've got a robot in there. I mean, what if? And I thought, there's voices in my head. And the other voice said, turn the damn thing off. Check in the morning. Your being on top of this is of no use to anybody. Remember the good old days, I said to myself, when knowing something 24 hours later, 10 hours later, was good enough. There was no need to have this constant and instant attachment to a story that was unfolding. It will unfold. Facts will become known. And then take it in. I had trouble sleeping last night. And I did feel anxious. And I thought to myself, are you anxious because you spent all that time looking at it? I thought probably. So I medicated myself and went to bed. Woke up and there was some more information. I don't know. There's nothing I have left to say about the gun scourge in this country. I've said it all. I've said everything I can, and so have millions of others. This will be an interesting one, though. The Republicans cannot say this is mental illness. They cannot yet say this is terrorism, although the very fact that these two are Muslim is enough for a lot of people. So you have the cover of the New York Post. And what it says? Muslim killers. Tell me, do you recall the headline in the New York Post after Timothy McVeigh, Columbine, Sandy Hook, you name them, Planned Parenthood? Let's just stay within the week. Do you recall a headline that said Christian killer? Huh? Do you? Me either. It's despicable. I mean, really despicable. Not surprising, that is another Rupert Murdoch property. I even watched Fox News, some of its one of the guys they had on right off the bat said, now I don't want to politicize this at this early stage where we don't know anything, and then began to politicize it by talking about how wonderful it was that the San Bernadino cops had all of this military gizmos and, the bomb guy and the robots and all this stuff. And how the militarization, he wanted to talk about the fact that the militarization of America's police forces was necessary. Oh, God. Covering something as it's happening, as these news stations do now, means that invariably a lot of incorrect information, flat out false information, will be disseminated. And believe me, as I sat for 4 hours watching it unfold, man, there was a breathless report of police officers, guns drawn, storming into one of the hospitals where where some of the victims had been taken, that there was an evacuation of the Loma Linda hospital going on. It was untrue. Untrue. The other unusual fact in this one is the woman. She might be the linchpin. I don't know. Came here from Saudi Arabia just in the last, year or 18 months. But if you were a jihadist, you don't let people know that's why you're doing it. That's part of what you do it for. That there's so far no indication that they were ideologically motivated, religiously motivated, not religiously, I don't know what to call it. It's odd that she and her husband were willing to leave their 6-month-old child off and then go off to massacre innocent people. Incredible. None of this story has made any sense from the beginning. That he was at the party, supposedly an altercation of some sort, that he leaves the party. He comes back not that long afterwards as this, kamikaze with another kamikaze. All of that looks very well planned. If it's so well planned, what did he go to the party for in the first place? To scope it out, to make sure the people he wanted to kill were there, to maybe plant the IED in the building that they found hours after the event. I don't know. And we won't know. But that's why there's investigators and FBI and police, and they will find out, and we will slowly fill in the holes in this story. Filling the holes that these two sons of bitches left in their fellow human beings. That we can't do. Incredible. One note of levity, as I was watching in that 4-hour spell, I don't know what network I was watching, but they turned to a local Los Angeles reporter and just went to him on the scene. And this was him after the shootout with the SUV. He's in the neighborhood. He's talking to an eyewitness, a man who's going, just saying, there were thousands of rounds. And the reporter says, show me where you were. And they start walking, and the camera follows them. They walk alongside, it looks like maybe a garage or something. They walk into a backyard, and the reporter's talking all the time. The guy, the witness, is leading him. And because you have to keep up a line of patter, the reporter's going through this backyard, and he says, there's a dead duck. he says, pointing to the ground. There's a dead duck. And then he actually said this, because I wrote it down. Whether it died of gunfire or was literally perhaps scared to death, we won't know. We don't know. I somehow thought that was the funniest thing I ever heard. Walking through the yard, he encounters a dead duck. We don't know if this is a case of homicide or simply heart attack. Did the duck die of terror? Nobody laughed, and he just kept talking, so I thought he meant this whole thing totally as seriously as he was delivering it. Turning around from network to network, experts were contradicting each other left and right. Left and right. This has to be that has to be this. You turn to another network, somebody else says something else. I don't know. We get sucked into this, watching this, because it does give us what seems to be a front row seat at an horrific but fascinating event. We've watched enough cop shows. We've watched enough shows about ERs that we have a real good sense of everything that's happening. We know the lingo. We know the drill. And the reporters know the drill. Everybody goes into what they do in these common situations in the United States. Caller, go ahead, caller.
Hi.
Hi.
I don't know if you saw the one reporter on there that said about, he was explaining what was happening, and he said, which I never thought they used to do a long time ago, where he said it's in God's hands or something. And I'm thinking to myself, if it's in God's hands, it wouldn't even happen to begin with.
You would
So
think.
to say a damn statement like that, they do that all the time on TV. Or somebody that gets rescued, God's looking after her, and they said, fuck the other people. They can
Yeah,
die.
right.
That just irritates
Yeah,
the shit
it
out of
does.
me. They do it all the time.
I understand. People don't realize, I think, like a survivor who says God was looking after me, they don't realize that what they are implying is that God was not looking after the others who were killed. I mean, they just don't. They don't think that.
Yeah.
They're just feeling so damn lucky that they can't understand why, that they say that. But of course, God had nothing to do with any of this. And
these reporters, I don't know if you noticed that they now bring in God a lot in prayer, and which I don't think, did you know?
Never.
Did they do that?
Never.
I didn't think so, because I don't remember it.
Never. You would never do that.
I mean, that's like then saying somebody says that, then if you're an atheist, the hell with you, you know. I don't know. It gets me.
Well, the thing is I have some sympathy for these anchors and reporters who have no additional information for hours and have to continue to fill airtime without commercial breaks. They don't even go to commercials, so they have to talk. And in the course of all that yap with no real information to import, they say lots of stupid things.
Well, that's true.
I mean, some of them breathtakingly stupid.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
And they repeat themselves. When I was watching Fox, as Shepard Smith was on, who's one of their more palatable people, and he kept saying stupid things like, you know, this just isn't supposed to happen in America. And if I hear anyone, now I'll let somebody say God was looking after me, but the one I can't handle is all the people in the town saying, I can't believe this could happen here. This is not America. This is not who we are. As a matter of fact, our Attorney General Loretta Lynch just said exactly that in a press conference she had in the last hour. This is not America. Hello? This is America. Again, I understand what she meant. She meant to say this is not who we want to be or purport to be or who our mythology says we are. But you cannot say anymore that mindless mass murder of innocent people going about their lives is not America. It is as American as apple pie. Let me get some of your thoughts in here. Beth says, the New York Post is the New York Post. That's the one that says Muslim killers. But see below the cover of today's New York Daily News. It didn't come through. The Daily News has another hard-hitting cover on gun control. On Wednesday night, the News published an early look at its Thursday cover, which takes Congress to task for its inaction. And the front page features the tweets of Republican leaders offering their thoughts and prayers after the mass shooting in San Bernadino. And then the cover says, God isn't fixing this. I bet all these guys have essentially, okay, here's the speech I give, here are the things I say, here are the tweets I tweet after a mass shooting. Thinking of the victims in fill in the blank, praying for, blah, 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 fill in the blanks. Don't say this is not America. The reporters go into their immediate drill. This is how common it is. There's drills. They go into the drill. Law enforcement goes into the drill. The hospital goes into the drill. We all go into the drill. And we go into the drill by sitting and taking in all of this shit, making us anxious, making us not well informed. We'd be better informed if we sat for a day or two and waited to see, after the dust had settled, what the hell happened this time. But we are conditioned by the immediacy of news now. We demand knowing now. And we get annoyed when they don't tell us now. I don't understand that tweet. That thing. Roger says, not sure where the latest shooting, this time at San Bernadino, is going, but it started a conversation between me and my wife. I started by saying, if this is another religious-based atrocity, it's time for Muslims to address this head-on within their communities to put a stop to it. My wife responded, when the United States addresses our gun violence, only then will we have the high ground to ask Muslims to put a stop to their violence. She's right, he says. Legally owned guns are responsible for more deaths in this country and injuries than deaths by radical Muslims. Oh, by far. Deaths by people dying in this country by legally purchased guns. The reason being, it is so damn easy. Legally purchased guns on a bar graph would, we started the graph on the first floor of this building, I'm on the 21st floor, it would just keep on going. As for Americans killed from, in America by, radical Muslims, it wouldn't even get out of the first floor lobby, the graph. And yet you see where media puts our attention. Just appalling. And I will say again, any Muslims, hug one today. being a Muslim in America right now is hard as hell. And I know we keep saying they need to do something, but imagine you're a Muslim, okay? And after somebody says, you have to do something. It's a civil war in your religion, for God's sake. And it is hurting you. It's hurting everybody, and it's hurting you. You don't want to be suspect walking around the U.S. You want to feel, you guys got to get a handle on this. Imagine you're the person that's coming at. What are you supposed to do? You're a Muslim American. You're living your life like anybody else. You're getting up in the morning, giving your kids breakfast. They go off to school. You go to work. He goes to work, blah, 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 blah. You have families. You are just regular people. But because of your religion, you are told, and I've said this, the Muslims got to get this crap together. But as an individual Muslim, what the hell are you supposed to do? You probably spend half your time worrying about whether or not you're going to be the victim, because there's so many now enraged Americans who read things like the New York Post, Muslim killers, and stop making they hear Muslim and all they hear is killer. They hear Muslim and all they hear is ISIS. When you have an irresponsible, demagogic media like we do in this country, and the media helps to ratchet up the fear by this constant, by the fact that we all went along for the ride yesterday. And then they say things like, a lot of them say, they'll have an expert on it, and they'll say, well, Americans are seeing this and they're frightened and they don't know what. And I'm thinking, I'm seeing this. I'm not frightened. That's not my reaction. I am not frightened. I'm serious. Is that your reaction to this? I'm frightened? My reaction is one of horror. My reaction is one of, what the hell can we do to stop this craziness? It is not the immediate feeling of, oh my God, that's going to happen to me. Come on, get some perspective. Frightened? No. Concerned as hell? Yeah. Because we got to get a handle on this. And the handle I'm talking about is how this is becoming the norm in the United States. If this one is a slight deviation because all of a sudden here's a mass murder that looks very much like an American mass murder, but the perps are Muslims. And now we're going to go nuts, huh? What about all those other mass murders? As I said, did we see headlines about white Christians? Did we see headlines about all you Christians better get these radical Christian, all you white heterosexual Christian men better get your brothers under control? Do we ever hear that?
Did you read the New York Times profile?
No. Wait a minute. Ah, there it is. Someone suggesting that the duck probably committed suicide. The duck probably said, I can't live with these humans in this world anymore. They're killing my habitat. There's guns, bullets, blood. I'm ending it. That's it. I'd rather be a dead duck. Celine's asking me if I read what? The profile of who?
Of the man who did the Planned Parenthood shooting.
No. Yes, I did. Yes, I did read his. Huh?
It was like the one that called him a Christian terrorist.
Okay, one person mentioned Christianity about the Planned Parenthood guy. Oh, yeah, he was in the evangelical community. Yeah, okay. There's hardly bears mentioned. What does that have to do with anything? William writes, Lynn, you're making good points this morning, and it gets me to wondering if we actually wind up less informed by 24-hour coverage. Aha. Seems to be like a very odd thing to say. We have 24-hour coverage. Could it be we're less informed? And I would argue, I think I could very well argue the point that is true. By not permitting ourselves a break of 24 or 12 or even 6 hours from the news because we wind up having to filter out so much useless speculation, filling up all those minutes, speculation which only detracts from the news. News used to be fact. News did not used to be a bunch of people sitting around making up stories to fill the time. Well, he could have been, and who knows if that, and these people could be, and I would bet that right now they're out of Southern California. I mean, they had a 4-hour head start. The cops, I can't believe the cops. Man, they're gone. They're in Nevada. Who knows where the hell these people are? The email goes on to say, but then I wonder, do people actually watch the news to be informed? No, I'm not talking about sheer entertainment, although there is that. Maybe people really watch the news just to have something to say during the conversations they're going to have with like-minded friends. All they really need the news for is one opinion or spin or speculation or editorial, which will neatly wrap up the story for them, and then they can, go out, I guess, about their day. How many of us are truly vested in information as opposed to social currency? And how many of us would suddenly be demoted to a party pooper if we dared to actually work out the details of a story? I'm willing to be a party pooper, William says. I don't have that many friends. All right, Dawn says, I can't stand that either. I can't believe this happened here. This doesn't happen here. I can't stand that either. Oh my, this doesn't happen here. Well, where the hell is it supposed to happen? I want to scream. That's what I find myself yelling at the TV when the local news finds one of these yahoos always saying, well, I can't believe that happened here. To be generous. People don't know what to say. People don't know what to say when the horrors we're used to seeing happens right in front of them. They don't know what to say. So they say what everybody always says. It doesn't happen here. And the fact that they're being asked the question in the first place directly refutes their statement. You wouldn't be on TV if it didn't happen here. It happens here. It happens all over the place. Ansel writes, I heard Paul Ryan this morning. I don't know why I was expecting more of him. Oh, come on. Than we got from Boehner. Ansel, hope springs eternal. Basically, our new Speaker of the House said, we need to update mental illness laws. We're not enforcing the gun laws we already have. And 3, we must deprive no one of their constitutionally protected rights. Well, see, here's where some rights trump other rights, Speaker Ryan. You guys who think the most important right is the right to own a lethal weapon, I think it's trumped by my right, which is the promise from the founding fathers of life. Liberty and pursuit of happiness. Life is first. My right to live trumps. Now, I suppose more people are going to go out and buy. Everybody, quick, guns. I know what every little stocking stuffer needs. this year. You put a little gun in all those stockings. You put your guns and long guns under. I never even heard that term before, long guns. That's all they were saying. It was a long gun. Isn't that a rifle? Come on, everybody. We now know what to get each other for Christmas. Guns. Melanie wrote, I thought I'd reached my tipping point before, but I'm officially there now. I don't care who I offend, including gun-owning family members, but I think we all need to do something about this craziness. I don't know what. See, now we're like the Muslims that everybody says, do something. Well, the fact is we do know what we can do. If all Americans who felt this way organized, got together, we could get something done. There's no doubt about it. It would take a lot of organization and a lot of will and a lot of single-mindedness. Maybe what Barack Obama should do when he leaves office is that. Spearhead the effort to get all Americans, or the vast majority, on board and go after the stranglehold the NRA has on our legislators, national and state level. Go after them. I know this is an issue. The whole gun thing makes my head explode. I'm sick of this craziness. This can be contained, and we as a country simply refuse to do it. That's true. It's been contained in other countries. We refuse to do it. Yeah. Tracy writes, I could not turn it off. And I felt the exact feelings you had. What the hell am I doing? Talk about a front row seat. Interesting, though, that I knew right when it was happening that the woman suspect had a Middle Eastern name. And also that one of the suspects, can't remember if he or she, but that a pipe bomb was strapped to their body. Where'd you hear that? I hadn't heard that. Don't think I've read that or heard that anywhere yet. Well, how did you know it then? How did you know that? Is that one? See, here's where we get in trouble. We get one piece of information from some source, and there was so much misinformation flying around yesterday, and it probably still is today. Much less, but still. Of course, I have written our senators and my congressmen yet again. God help us. Yeah. The headline in the Daily News says, God is not fixing this. And then says, as the latest batch of innocent Americans are left lying in pools of blood, cowards who could truly end this gun scourge continue to hide behind meaningless platitudes. Daily News. Chuck writes, I was surprised to hear on CNN that there is a mass murder almost every day in the United States. Almost every day. It is true. Because mass murder is 4 or more. And yes. I was also interested to hear that the United States is the only country in the civilized world. I don't know if we should include ourselves in the civilized world anymore. What is the civilized world? Is this the civilized world? We're the only one in that world that permits citizens to own military-grade weapons. Why am I only now just hearing this? Maybe I'm not paying attention, but these facts need to be part of the dialogue. No, they are. After every one, the stats come out, and we talk about the fact that more people, here's one, more people have died in just the last 4 years. 2011 to 2015. or thereabouts, probably 12 to 15. More Americans have been killed by guns than died in Vietnam, plus Korea, plus Afghanistan, plus Iraq. I don't know, but people don't. Yeah, okay, and then we accept that. Oh yeah, geez. How many of those Americans were killed by Muslims? Teeny weeny bit. And most having nothing to do with, if they were Muslims, and just had nothing to do with some radical ideology. And yet that's what we focus our attention on. So, the opinion writers write this stuff every time. They must have a million. I remember when I was a news reporter, it used to drive me crazy. The stories that come around all the time that you can do them. These are the ones the robots are going to end up writing. The water main break, the car, the fire. We all know the conflict. You can write them in your sleep. But so are the ones, seasonal ones. Oh, the Black Friday story. Oh, yeah, the Christmas shopping. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. But this is now become one of those. A mass shooting is now one of those sort of mind-numbing, rote stories that you write with just fill in the blanks. And when it's been drawn to our attention that things in our environment are killing us unnecessarily, we as a people have done things about them. When we realize that there are a lot of people dying from car accidents, we say this all the time. Come on, we decided we can have some impact on this. We gotta drop this number down, and so you got seatbelts and guardrails and licenses and this and that and airbags. You can't just have a swimming pool in this country. You have to be sure no one's going to drown in it, so you have to have a fence, child-proof, blah, 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 cover. We do these things because we don't want people dying needlessly. Meanwhile, more people are dying from guns than anything else even. There's nothing else even in the ballpark. And we do nothing. Almost half of the guns in this country are acquired without a background check. It's perfectly legal. We said this the last shooting. It's perfectly legal for people who are on the terrorist watch list in this country to buy guns in America. In fact, 2,000 people on our terror watch list have purchased guns in the last 10 years. What's the source of that? The GAO, the Government Accountability Office. I think Nicholas Kristof says it well. Not every shooting is preventable, but we're not even trying. Shame. Okay, I'll read you a quote. This goes out to mostly people who aren't listening to me. Quote, every year, an average of 9,200 Americans are murdered. Now, that's way low, but that when this guy said it, that was the number. An average of 9,200 Americans are murdered by handguns. This level of violence must be stopped. Oh, man. Have we? All right. Tighter gun regulations. If tighter gun regulations were to result in a reduction of only 10 or 15% of those numbers, and it could well be a great deal more, it would be well worth making that the law of the land. This is a guy asking for gun control measures because he says the level of violence must be stopped when it was much lower than it is now. You know who said that? The Republicans' saint. Their saint, Ronald Reagan. And he said it long after he left office. He said it in an op-ed in 1991. Paul says the real problem, whether it be guns or climate change or health care, I think the real problem is the way we finance political campaigns. Until we change that, I don't see anything changing. Well, Paul, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. Because we have a paid and bought legislature and Congress. That's the way it works because of our laws, or lack of. So there's a lot of ways we can, approach this and attack it. But the majority of Americans who are on the side of gun control do not have the will. And they cannot match the crazed passion of the other side. And I'm willing to bet you a lot of Americans now, reaction to this is they go and buy guns. This is going to be a busy day at the gun shop. Oh, man, Tracy says, man, I was listening to the San Bernadino police scanner online. Well, that's at least getting... That's interesting. I mean, that might be a more interesting way to listen because at least you're getting real-time information that the police themselves have, which means, there's a lot of confusion. But, oh dear. I've got one email here that is not related to any of this, and as a little break, I think we'll take it, but I can't find it now. Here it is. This is from Josh, and it's after he listened to Tuesday's show when I was talking about Werner Erhard coming back, the founder of EST, and who was taken out by the incredible combination of the Church of Scientology and 60 Minutes working in cahoots. But now he's back, and everybody thought EST was gone, but it's still totally alive. It has just changed into something called Landmark Forum. And Werner is still making tons of money. So this is what Josh writes. Lynn, I'm listening to your December 1st show about EST, Landmark. He writes, I was once dragged to a Landmark Forum seminar at a hotel out by the airport. That's all. Yep, that's it. A girl I was seeing dragged myself and her grandmother to the meeting. I remember it was election night, 2010. I remember her grandmother and me sitting in the hotel lobby watching Fox News election returns. The Republicans did very well. What a torturous evening. Listening to hours of cult-like bullshit, then opting to wait in the lobby and suffer through all that Fox News bullshit with the grandmother, who was an old Democrat. We both agreed that the evening was unbearable. The girl that dragged us there in my car would weeks later cheat on me and justify it with the narcissistic crap she'd learned at the forum. She was self-actualizing. Basically, what I took from the seminar was, quote, do whatever you want in life, regardless of the damage you do to others. Yeah, anyway, your show reminded me of that awful night. Sorry. I'm really sorry. Oh, jeez. Okay. Here is a professor who writes extensively about mass murder. He's pretty famous about it. James Allen Fox. He's a criminologist. And he said that the changes in news media and in the immediate availability of news accounts of shootings, I mean, and us being able to watch this real-life cops and robbers thing going on yesterday, he says it has led many people to believe that the number of shootings in this country has been increasing. He says the numbers show that it is not, that it's steady. It's just our knowledge of it. But he says, in fact, the only increase that has really happened is in fear. Because there is now the perception that there's more gun violence than ever before. Well, we never had these kind of mass shootings before. We did not with their regularity. A lot of that has been because of the nature of media coverage. In the 70s and 80s, we didn't hear about it immediately. There was no internet, and we didn't have cable news channels that would be on 24 hours. I mean, there is no doubt that, again, technology and what it has done to news gathering has skewed our perceptions in many ways and has definitely increased the level of fear that Americans live with and allows them to be more easily led or misled by their noses. I had this thought yesterday during all of this that if I were a conspiracy theorist, I could concoct a really believable story that all these mass murders are being done on purpose by people in power who want, or in media, who want these great stories, want the fear ratcheted up because it will solidify their power, their ability to have people tuned in 24/7, and of course the cash registers would be going nuts because they make money hand over fist when we feel we can't live without knowing. You could spin something. Here is somebody writing in Salon about the Muslim versus Christian debate. Well, I'm sure a lot of stuff's going to be. I don't have time to read that now, obviously. I'm in the middle of the show. However, I will. Let's end this on a better note, okay? And for that, we go to the sports page, which is not always a better note. You turn to the sports page, but some of you may have noted that one of the great basketball players has announced he's done after this season, and that would be Kobe Bryant. I'd heard he'd said, that's it for me. What I hadn't heard is that he let it be known, not by having a statement issued by his publicist, or by holding a news conference, or by having the information leaked. He did it by writing a poem. And the poem was published in something called the Players' Tribune. I'll read you a little of Kobe Bryant's poem. Dear Basketball, from the moment I started rolling my dad's tube socks and shooting imaginary game-winning shots in the Great Western Forum, I knew one thing was real. I fell in love with you. I played through the sweat and hurt, not because Challenged called me, but because you called me. I did everything for you, because that's what you do when someone means you feel as alive as you've made me feel. You gave a 6-year-old boy his Laker dream, and I'll always love you for it. But I can't love you obsessively for much longer. This season is all I have left to give. My heart can take the pounding, my mind can handle the grind, but my body knows it's time to say goodbye. And that's okay. I'm ready to let you go. I want you to know now so we both can savor every moment we have left together. The good and the bad, we have given each other all that we have. And we both know no matter what I do next, I'll always be that kid with the rolled up socks, garbage can in the corner, 5 seconds on the clock, ball in my hands. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Love you. Always. Kobe. It's a love poem. It's a love poem to basketball. Now, what it says here is that while this made a big splash in the sports world, it made a big splash in the poetry world. It says here, my God, poets all over are like parsing it. A poet and professor is quoted here as saying, "It's not the worst poem I've ever read. Might not be Shakespeare, but what's astonishing is that one of the world's most famous athletes would choose that form." It's an exciting, rare moment in which a poem enters mainstream culture. Here's an English poet who said, "One thought I had initially, without even seeing it, that it'll be the most widely disseminated poem of the last decade." No one reads poetry, she says. But, poetry has been coming back. There's, Celine just the other night went to a poetry slam. There's the people get together and they do poetry now. Hip hop is poetry. And those of you who've never bothered to try to listen to the good stuff, some of it is wondrous. So poetry is, I would say, enjoying a little bit of an uptick. And the fact that Kobe Bryant would want to, this most important thing, and the fact is he wrote a love poem. And someone said, maybe he chose poetry because in poetry, the rules of language and narrative can be subverted and it can become a more comfortable vehicle than prose for expressing emotion. And here's one of the poetry professors saying, "I would tell my students, look at how in 14 lines this guy manages to condense this feeling of incredible obsession. And not only a recognition of it, but a recognition that he can no longer pursue it." So, another poet said, his poem is sort of strangely missing any kind of human beings. He's anthropomorphized basketball. It's the only person in his life. Margie has written, Kobe's a cheating bastard. Well, yeah, there's that too. All righty. I think that's all I had. Oh, no, just one. I got a minute. just one. This is from Dave Majernik of Plum. He's written a letter to the editor of the Post-Gazette, and this is a riot. I'm only reading you this penultimate paragraph. That's the second to the last. And this is in response to another letter, and this guy does not believe in climate change. Absolutely. And he thinks we're all crazy. So here's the one I thought was just mind-blowing. Dave Majernik writes, climate change is a risky socialist plan to limit free enterprise and American superpower status through deceitful moral intimidation. Since socialists cannot win in the arena of ideas, they must create a bogus emergency to force centralized control. He believes that. And you know what? He ain't alone, because that's the stuff they peddle on the media that is the go-to media for the alternative universe of the United States of America, where millions of our fellow citizens reside. Well, okay, hope we managed to get through the next 24 hours without another mass shooting, but the odds aren't with us. See you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.